Welcome, everybody, to our new show. My name is Andy Bernstein. Today, we're going to hear from a die-hard Bruins fan who grew up with the Bees, and she had a chance to meet her hero, Ray Bourque, and the experience that went along with it, as well as a memorable item that she will never ever sell. Christina, welcome to the show. Tell us about your love of the Bruins and how you got connected with Ray Bourque.
I've been a lifelong Bruins fan, and I really can't take all the credit for that. I have to thank my parents because, true story, the night I was born, my mother and father were at a fan appreciation dinner for Phil Esposito,
Okay.
and my mother went into labor with me after she shook his hand.
Okay.
So the joke in the family was, oh, something just transferred from Phil Esposito to me, because from the time I was a baby, my brothers would tell you if a Bruins game was on, I would sit and watch it. They wouldn't hear a peep out of me.
Okay.
So it's just been ingrained, if you will. So I, growing up, never really gravitated to any certain player until Raymond Bourque made the team.
Okay.
And my first game, live game, as a fan, was also his first game, which
Okay.
I which I believe was October 11th of 1980.
Okay.
So it's been a while. So I always just gravitated more towards Ray, just because of how he played the game, and not only how he played the game, but how he was with the fans and how he carried himself. There was just, to me, he was what they would call the ultimate Bruin. And just so for years, I followed him constantly, but I was never really someone who went for autographs or wanted to bother people. But as the years went by, and I, started to realize that Ray's career was winding down, I wanted to have something signed by him as a memento. So I bought, shortly after he was traded to Colorado, a jersey. It was the last jersey he ever wore as a Bruin, and wanted to get it signed. But I kept running into what I like to call roadblocks. I would go places where he was scheduled to be, and I wouldn't get a chance to see him. The final time when I just threw up my hands and said, this is never going to happen, was after he had retired. He was scheduled to play in a charity game at the Songus Arena.
Okay.
And myself and a couple of friends drove there to go see the game. We didn't have tickets ahead of time, so we were going to buy tickets at the window. When I went to the window, it said they had two different ticket prices, the regular game price and the VIP price. So the VIP entailed that you got to meet him after the game. It was a meet and greet. So I asked my friends if they wanted to do that, and they weren't too excited to do that. They didn't want to spend the money. And I offered actually to pay for their ticket, and they still said no. So we bought the tickets. I was so mad, I actually left them there. I didn't stay for the game. I said, you can find your own way home. And I, at that point, was at my wit's end, because this had been 20 years trying to get to him, not knowing how, and not wanting to be a stalker either. So I had come home and was in tears, and talked to a friend of mine, and said to Bernie Corbett, do you know anyone that knows him? Is there any way that you can get to him for me? I just want him to sign this jersey and actually take a picture with him. I remember saying to him, I don't want to bother him. If it's too much of a bother, I'll just let it go. And within an hour after that phone call, I get another phone call back saying, can you make it out to Shrewsbury this weekend? And I said, what's the purpose? So Raymond Bourque is opening up a Bob store in Shrewsbury, and we've made arrangements for you to meet him. That's all you needed to say. I got my butt up and I got out to Shrewsbury. So when I arrived at the Bob store, the line of people around the block, down the street, I mean, it had to have been 2,000 people deep. And again, I was a little crestfallen because they handed me a ticket, and the ticket said, and I said, what about this? 177 was my ticket number.
And Ray's number was 77.
777. And also, there's a side note about Phil Esposito. When I was born, I forgot to say this. Phil wore number 7 for the Bruins. I'm my parents' 7th child.
Oh, okay.
So, little interesting side note there about Mr. Esposito. So I went to the security guard to try to plead my case, and he said, "You need to stand in the back of the line." And I said, "But I came all the way from Stoneham." And they said, "I'm sorry, we can't even guarantee you're going to see him." And again, I started to break down because I said, I can't be this close and then miss it. Not
Right.
again. And I said, but Cleon Daskalakis, who knew Ray, has told me I could come. And as luck would have it, there was someone inside the front door who heard me say the name, and he poked his head out and he said, "Whose name did you just say?" And I said, "Cleon Daskalakis." And he stepped out and he said, "She doesn't go in the line. She comes right in." So they brought me right in and they said, "You wait right here. Ray's going to see you specifically." Okay. So little time goes by. Ray shows up. The whole place is, going a little bananas. But there are signs all over the place. Absolutely no personal items are to be signed. So again, I'm like, oh, gee. So I have the jersey with me. Ray notices me, comes over, shakes my hand, and he says, "I understand you've been trying to get to me, huh?" And I said, "Yes, you could say that." And he said, "Well, what can I do for you?" I said, "Can we take a picture?" He said, "We can take as many as you want." And then he said, "Do you want me to sign your jersey for you?" Because he noticed I was holding it. I said, "But it says nothing personal to be signed." He said, "That's for them, not for you."
Aw.
And he grabbed the jersey and he signed it.
Yep.
All right.
And he signed it on the back.
Signed it on the back because I always like them on the back, because if I ever frame them, I want the name on the back.
Okay. So that jersey is actually the old Bruins that a
Yes.
lot of people don't like because it
Right.
was
I didn't like it either, honestly.
because it looks like
But
the Winnie the Pooh jersey.
exactly.
Here,
But
can you show the front of it?
yes. It was the last one he wore as a Bruin before he was traded to Colorado.
Okay.
And I remember the game before he was traded, I looked at the person I was sitting next to and I just knew. I said, he's gone.
Right.
Because there were rumors that were going around that he was being traded, and so I just refused to believe it. But I just looked at him out on the ice and I said, I'm never going to see him wearing a Bruins jersey again.
And only at Old Timers Day or when they retired his
Exactly.
number. So,
Exactly.
but your love affair, I mean, you also, so obviously that's an item you would never sell,
Never. There
right?
isn't enough money in the world I could sell it for. I don't care what kind of financial situation I'd be in. This is my, if you will, my legacy. This will go to whoever in my family, and I might even let myself be buried in it someday. You never know. I
Right. So
might.
that's your thing, and then I mean you even have the legendary Bobby Orr statue, and you've been a Bruins season or a Bobby Orr frame picture,
Yes.
and I mean you've been which your grandfather gave you, you told me, which is like an
Yes.
unbelievable memory. So the
Hmm.
Bruins has been being a Bruins fan has really been a huge part of your entire life.
Absolutely. It's, as I say, it's who I am.
Right. Well, thank you, my friend.
You are more than welcome.